Hello everyone. Today I'm speaking to you from sunny Zurich. We're in Switzerland as part of our European leg of this tour, and the topic that we're going to be covering is objectivity. And it's a follow-on from how we started last session, which was the vital role of the intellect, and how when it comes to faith, even in an aspect where there is belief, even in an aspect where it's based on feeling, it needs to be backed by the intellect and followed through by the intellect to become meaningful in our lives. To start, objectivity. Such a useful tool. It brings about both clarity in decision making, so it increases our productivity, but also our peace. So it is the one aspect that the intellect brings to life that adds so much in terms of exactly what we're looking for. We're all looking for professional success, excellence in action, but also peace of mind. In order to grasp the importance, in order to apply objectivity in life, like everything we do in Vedanta, it starts with defining it. What is objectivity? Anybody? What is objectivity? We use this word often.
Without bias.
Without bias? Okay, great.
To examine and then analyze?
Examine and analyze without bias.
To view things in the proper perspective and context.
View things in the proper perspective and context. Okay, great.
Not allow your mind to take over your emotions.
Well, the mind has all the emotions. So it's not allowing the mind's emotions to overwhelm the intellect. Simply put, objectivity is intellect over the mind. So when we make a decision, when we perform an action, is our intellect leading the charge or is it the mind? And there are three aspects of objectivity that we're going to cover today, which encompasses the points that you've mentioned. The 3 points are, if we are going to be objective, the first aspect is, are we able to think, analyze, and reason independent of the mind's feelings, independent of our likes and dislikes, but going deeper now, independent of beliefs, prejudices, biases, conditionings that we have been brought up with. To the extent we are able to analyze independent of the mind's influence, are we objective? Now this is an interesting one because what it means is the more emotional we are, the more aggravated our mind is in a particular area, we can be suspicious of our objectivity. Because the greater the agitation of the mind or the greater the involvement of the mind, so our objectivity will be compromised. So if we want to be objective, analyze clearly without the bias of the mind, analyze when we are calm. Analyze when the mind is quiet. But when we try to think and analyze when we are agitated or involved or desire-ridden or too excited or anxious, our thinking is going to be compromised. So to the extent the mind is quiet, calm, the intellect can analyze without its interference and influence easier, better. Now this doesn't mean that we neglect the mind. One could take the information that we get from the mind, aspects such as empathy, feeling, the feelings of another person, we could take that into the consideration. But not to the extent it colors and prejudices our analysis. So the first one, and why it's important and related to last week's topic about faith, is we get so many influences, particularly religious, but also cultural, as we're brought into this world. So imagine, by the time a child is 6 or 7, it starts pronouncing what religion they're in. I'm a Christian, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Hindu, I am Buddhist. But on what basis? Have you studied any of the texts? Do you know the teachings? Do you know the life of the different founders? Do you know the principles of it? On what basis do you make such a declaration? So there are so many aspects that we've absorbed without analysis, without being objective and then consciously deciding, deliberately owning that particular aspect of life. There is a beautiful quotation by Lord Buddha, which gives us an idea of how we should approach religion, but any aspect of life, any ideology. It says that when we analyze, when we have faith, he says, do not believe what you have heard. Do not believe in tradition because it is handed down many generations. Do not believe in anything that has been spoken of many times. Now, this is especially relevant in this age of social media, where the algorithm gets to know you and keeps on purporting and supporting an idea that you agree with, that you align with. So it feeds you that. And because it goes viral or because it gets repeated often, that's what we believe. It says, do not believe because it has been spoken of many times. Do not believe because the written statements come from some old sages, including Vedanta, 5,000 years old. Do not believe in conjecture. Means no logic, just a guess, a conjecture. Do not believe in authority or teachers or elders. But, and here's the explanation, then how do we believe? How do we reason? How do we analyze? But after careful observation and analysis, when it agrees with reason and it will benefit one and all, then accept it and live by it. This is objectivity. Objectivity is taking the idea, analyzing it on its own merit, seeing if it's beneficial for one and all, and then accepting it, living by it. Which means to take an idea and analyze it independently, we are being objective. But when we talk about the intellect over the mind, there are different aspects to objectivity. So one aspect is the reasoning aspect, the analysis aspect. What about, and that's the second reason that we go to, the second aspect of objectivity is, what about the affectation aspect? And the affectation aspect is, when something happens in life, does it overwhelm you that you can no longer think clearly? And here's the interesting part. It could be something positive. So it could be an excitement. But you're so excited, we make mistakes. Or we do something reckless. For instance, in cricket, there have been cases where the player gets so excited after getting another person out, getting the wicket, they jump in celebration. And in jumping in celebration, when they land, they sprain their ankle. And the next delivery, they have to be taken off the field. In celebration, so joyous, they do a reckless action. So even in something positive, in negative, it is so clear how when there is grief or when there is worry or when there is illness, our mind goes into anxiety overdrive. It incapacitates us to function. It incapacitates us to concentrate on what needs to be done. And one way of looking if we're affected or not, are we able to do what needs to be done? Or does the emotion, positive or negative, overtake us in that particular moment? So objectivity in this context is the ability to be unaffected by both the positive and negative happenings in life. What makes something positive or negative?
Your reaction.
Your reaction, okay? And how would we react to an event?
Based on emotions.
Based on emotions, that's the one. The other is based on the mind's likes and dislikes. And we return to our BMI diagram, the body, mind, and intellect. The mind is the seat of emotions, yes. But where does the emotion come from? It comes from raga, dvesha is the Sanskrit word. Likes, raga, dvesha, dislikes. Our likes and dislikes. So if an event is aligned to our like, we smile, positive emotion. If an event is something that we dislike, we frown, we're unhappy. And depending on how strong the like or dislike is, how strong the attachment is to the like or the dislike, so our reaction, so we call it positive if it aligns, negative if it does not align. So the likes and dislikes are creating the pairs of opposites in this world. In fact, a definition for this world is dvandvas. Dvandvas is a Sanskrit word. It means pairs of opposites. Because if we analyze the world, it's nothing but either side. Hot, cold. Tall, short. Slim, wide. Dark, bright. Day, night. And we go deeper, joy, sorrow, honor, dishonor. These are the pairs of opposites in the world. When the mind relates to these pairs of opposites, what the mind does is it picks one of the pairs. So it picks honor. It picks birthday. But what that means is it denounces, it ignores, it pushes to one side because we don't like it, we don't want it, the other pair of opposite. But the world is both. You don't get a world which has only health and joy. There is no such world like that. It's an illusion, it's a fantasy, it's a dream. There is no such world. So if we get attached, if we like only one of the pairs, we are setting ourselves up for potential sorrow, disaster, disappointment. Because we don't want the other side, but life has to give the other side. And all we need to do is by the simple definition of dvandvas, accept that life means birth and death, health and ill health. Now what this does is, and this education should have started from when we were children. But look at the way we parent and look at today's generation of parents. We try and protect our children from particular exposures of the world. We try to not let them see the other aspect or the other side of the world. Often, when we travel, and I ask people about their interest, they're so interested in the subject, but they've not made the trip to India, they've not brought their families to the academy, and when I ask them about it, they say, no, we don't want to expose our children to poverty. I said, poverty is part of the world. And how can you know wealth if you don't know poverty? And when the child has to, at some point in life, be exposed to it, it's a shock to the system. They don't know that it exists. But when you know that both exist, you can be objective to both. You can be prepared for the other side. It is said that Lord Buddha, before he was a sannyasi, he was a great prince, but he was sheltered. He never saw aging. He never saw ill health. He never saw death. So when he saw it for the first time, it provoked him to such an extent. But he did not get overwhelmed. He went searching for the truth behind it, behind both the pairs. Now we can also be provoked by seeing both sides, accepting it instead of neglecting it, instead of being ignorant of the other side, and preparing for the other side. And this is what makes us objective. In fact, one easy way to remember this is the reminder of the phrase, even this shall pass away. If you just take the initials of each of the words, even, E, this, T, shall pass away, SPA, it's Etsapa. Etsapa. Even this shall pass away. And it has given so many people comfort. I know colleagues, friends who were temporarily paralyzed by an illness or by a stroke, and the thought that kept them going, and they made full recoveries, but the thought that gave them solace was this, even this shall pass away. Every experience in this world is impermanent. But when we hold on to an experience thinking it's going to be permanent, we're setting ourselves up for that disappointment because the world must change. Nothing remains the same. And if we can have that memory and retain that awareness of its passing, of it being ephemeral in nature, as we go through it and enjoy it, that is objectivity. And the poem, Even This Shall Pass Away, talks about a king with all the enjoyments. When everything is going well, he reminds himself, Etsapa. Even this shall pass away. And the poem is quoted in the book. So I'm not deviating by bringing the poem into our discussion today, but giving you more context on why it's covered. Because it shows both sides. It's not just being philosophical when there's loss. It's being philosophical when there's gain, when there is joy, when there is a party. That's the time to be philosophical. Because if you can be philosophical at the peak, you will be okay in the valley. And this is the poem. So I'll put it up so you can follow along as I read and make a note the different scenarios that this king of Persia goes through. And as he goes through each one, that reminder, even this shall pass away. Once in Persia reigned a king who upon his signet ring, so he got a ring, and on this ring he engraved an inscription that says, graved a maxim true and wise, which if held before his eyes, gave him counsel at a glance, fit for every change and chance, solemn words, and these are they, even this shall pass away. This poem was discovered by Swamiji, our mentor and teacher. And Swamiji was so inspired by this poem that when he started the academy, 1988, one of the considerations was, as part of the uniform, as we have the mala and the kurta, one of the considerations was, why don't we have a ring with the inscription, even this shall pass away. So all the students can time to time remember the ephemeral nature of this world and to seek the eternity, seek the spirit. But then Swamiji decided not to go ahead with the idea because he thought some of the students might use it for other purposes. Proposals will start happening on campus. Suddenly you will see beautiful campus by the canal, one person on bended knee. He said, no, okay, no rings. But the idea is that, how can we take this message and have it as a constant reminder? Maybe a ring, if that works for you. Maybe a notification on your watch that comes up every few hours. Remember, it'll pass away. Now, the first aspect that the king remembers this is in the pinnacle of wealth. He's enjoying wealth, more than comfortable. Trains of camels through the sand brought him gems from Samarkand. Fleets of galleys through the seas brought him pearls to match with these. But he counted not his gain, treasures of the mine or main. What is wealth? The king would say, even this shall pass away. We find some of the most philosophical communities are those who have had great wealth, and overnight it was taken from them. If we look at India's partition, people who stayed in present-day Pakistan and they had to move to India and they left their businesses overnight. But the same thing, people who lived in India and had to move to Pakistan, overnight started from scratch. Great mansions, great properties, industrial industries and factories left overnight. We saw it in Africa when certain communities were thrown out. Overnight, no wealth. We saw it in Europe. And those are the communities that understand the impermanence of wealth. Despite our best abilities to manage it, despite diversifying one's portfolio, you can take all these precautions, but wealth must pass. Even if you're extremely prudent, it must pass. Why? Because you cannot take it with you into the next life. In fact, those who have amassed wealth understand actually they're just a guardian of the wealth. Money must pass. It cannot stay with you. So you look at it as something that you can take care of and perhaps just pass on to the next generation responsibly. This king is very clear. What is wealth? The king would say. We've seen empires and kingdoms come and go. Don't get attached. When you get attached, it's when the mind wants it to stay forever. When the mind has not accepted its impermanent changing nature. And when that change comes, we lose our objectivity. So the objectivity is that if there is a change, you remain unaffected because you have already understood the nature of it. You saw it coming. It's not a surprise to you. You had assessed it, you had seen it, no problem. You don't get affected. The next aspect the king moves to is pleasures. We all enjoy socializing, we all enjoy good company. And here the king, mid the revels of his court, at the zenith of his sport, when the palm of all his guests burned with clapping at his jests, he, amid his figs and wine, cried, "O loving friends of mine, pleasures come but not to stay, even this shall pass away." To have that objectivity at the height of pleasure, you're having such a great time. The trouble is, the next morning. The next morning when you're all alone, can you handle not being in the party? Can you handle the solitude? Can you handle that time alone? You may enjoy it, you may revel in it. And I remember in high school, I used to act in musicals in high school days, and it was quite a high-end production. So there was a band, there was lights, It was a cast of 60 people. And the final scene where the song reaches a crescendo and everybody bows and you have the connection with the audience and the audience stands up and they're clapping. And I remember the adrenaline. You're feeling it. You're soaring. And then the next day, we have to go to assembly in the same hall. And it is such a drop in energy. The contrast is so stark. But to understand at that time, when you're soaring, that life is not always like this. It's a moment. Enjoy the moment fully. And that's the beauty of objectivity. Objectivity does not take away from the joy, nor does it also take away your appreciation of sorrow. So you go through joy, you go through sorrow, because it's another pair of opposites, but the affectation. You can appreciate both, but you don't make your identity that joy, you don't make that identity that sorrow. So if you make your identity the high that you get from the last final act on stage, what is your identity otherwise? Even as a speaker, we're traveling around the world, and the connection between a speaker and the audience, if done well, if you feel the pulse of the audience and you feel that the audience is with you, they're there, they're hanging on to your every word, and that connection is so fulfilling, but so momentary. Don't place the identity on that. And that's what objectivity is. It is the ability to detach. It's the ability to look at that feeling or that thought as an object. And that stops the affectation. But if you allow the mind to get attached and bind its identity to that experience, object, or moment, you are setting yourself up for heartache. Because that's not your identity. And when the world gives you the knocks and shocks because you've placed your identity in a mistaken place, and the only place you can place your identity is in the permanence and bliss of the self within, we experience the heartache because that is not ourselves. That is not us. We covered parenting. A parent is not your absolute role. We cannot get involved in that role by itself. It is one of many roles, and the objectivity is understanding how each role has a beginning and an end. Now we move on. Again, considering or moving on to the next theme in the poem. And here he says, he's gone still positive. So all pleasures. Now he talks about the highest pleasure, intimacy. And here he's on the marriage bed. Marriage bed means the first night with lady fairest ever seen, Miss Universe. Was the bride, he crowned his queen. Pillowed on his marriage bed. All right, so it's new. It is the most beautiful person. So you can imagine the excitement. You can imagine the thrill of it. But this king is objective. Pillowed on his marriage bed, softly to his soul he said. Now he had to say it softly, because if he had said it loudly, that would have really killed the mood. So softly to his soul he said, though no bridegroom ever pressed fairer bosom to his breast, mortal flesh must come to clay, even this shall pass away. That objectivity in understanding that even this is not permanent. So important. So in the height of pleasures, where it could be on stage with an audience, it could be at a party where people are laughing at your jokes, it could be just a gathering with friends where you're enjoying each other's company so much, understanding that it's not permanent makes all the difference. Now we move to the other aspect of life, the other side. Fighting on a furious field, once a javelin pierced his shield. Soldiers with a loud lament bore him bleeding to his tent. Next slide. Groaning from his tortured side, pain is hard to bear, he cried. But with patience, day by day, even this shall pass away. And I gave you the example of those colleagues in hospital, in pain, and here the king reminds himself as well. Pain is hard to bear, he cried. So it is not deluding yourself that it's not there, that there is no sorrow, that there is no pain. It is seeing the pain, it's experiencing, accepting the pain, it's accepting the other opposite of life. And that's the beauty of this subject. It sees truth. It sees it. And then you choose with your intellect because you have objectivity, you see the situation, you see the thought, the pain, the sorrow, and now you decide, how do I want to relate to it? You are not permanent. I'm going to be okay. The body is in pain, I will be okay. It will pass away. And now he switches to fame. Towering in the public square, 20 cubits in the air, rose his statue carved in stone. Then the king, disguised unknown, stood before his sculptured name, musing meekly, what is fame? Fame is but a slow decay, even this shall pass away. It's interesting, when we look at celebrities who go through this fame, if we look at sports stars who have experienced this height of fame, and we remember those superstars. Now if you ask the next generation, they don't know who they are. They don't know the actors of the past. They don't know the sports people of the past. Very few transcend, but it's a matter of time. After a matter of time, everybody's forgotten. And yet, at that time, how we cling to it, just the mention in a newspaper, in a magazine, we get so thrilled. Appear on TV for a little while, wow. Everything disappears over time. The last one, the other opposite. Birthdays we celebrate, death days we mourn. But there is no birth without death. There is no death without birth. Why don't we accept both? Why are we not ready for both? Nobody discusses death. And naturally, we are grief-stricken when it happens because we never want it to happen. But death has its own purpose in life, has its own beauty. Struck with palsy, sore and old, waiting at the gates of gold, said he with his dying breath, life is done, but what is death? Then in answer to the king fell a sunbeam on his ring, showing by a heavenly ray, even this shall pass away. In fact, to truly live is to understand death. Then we become very clear about the importance of every moment, about prioritizing what's important, and being prepared for whenever death decides to visit, either those around us or even ourselves. And that preparation removes the grief. So here's the king. He's on his deathbed, but that consolation comes again when he reminds himself that even this shall pass away. He gets a sunbeam from above. Even death, just another experience. Why the fear? When it comes, it comes. We don't know when it's going to happen. When it happens, okay, grieve once. And this was the advice from Swamiji, because he has seen over 99 years so many different aspects in the world. So he's seen COVID, and he's seen SARS, and he's seen AIDS, etc. So it's seen all these different illnesses. And when that illness comes, everybody is so anxious. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? Now we're on the verge of, it seems any moment that wars can escalate and people lose their sleep over it. People lose their peace of mind. And naturally, if it's within your vicinity, it's understandable. But in either case, wherever you are and whatever's happening to you, when it happens, it happens. You're gone. And when you're gone, you're not there anymore. So whilst you're alive, why worry about it? And that's the idea. This birth must pass. This life must pass. But death too must also pass. So when it comes, accept it. And before it comes, be prepared for it. And the preparation removes the worry. Otherwise, we die every day. We die with that anxiety. And maybe directly the anxiety causes the death. It's not necessary. So let us take up the stance of the king of Persia. To be detached, to be objective. How do we get this state? To become detached, to become objective, we need to raise ourselves with knowledge or a higher goal. Either way, we need to raise ourselves. Now, what that higher goal and knowledge does is it takes you above the hills and the vales of the world that you're in. If a person is involved in business, so when there's profit, he goes up. When there's a loss, it goes down. So you're involved in the world of business, in the roller coaster of business. But suppose you approach business as one aspect of your life. To take care of a particular aspect, but it's not the whole of your life. You've got a larger goal than that, of what you want the business for, of how it plays a role in your life. So it's one aspect of life. It could be to provide for a comfortable family life. So since the family life is your higher goal, you've raised it to a bigger canvas, a bigger context beyond the business. So even when the business is going down, because you've got a higher goal where the family is doing well, the family is comfortable, you are objective. But without that higher goal, you're on the roller coaster. So you will go up, you will go down. So the idea is, in life, raise ourselves. There's a beautiful metaphor where now and then a crow will go and bother an eagle and he'll start pecking on the eagle. And fascinatingly, the eagle does not ward off the crow. The eagle's got such talons that it can attack the crow, but it does not do that. Does anyone know what the eagle does? Yes, Lydia. It raises. It raises itself. So it just flies higher and higher. And by going higher and higher, it goes to an altitude that the crow can no longer fly at, and the crow just drops off. So now what are we doing? We are forcing and fighting against nature. We're fighting against these challenges, and we're putting all our effort into the challenge, into the ups and downs, and we're trying to get out of the down, and we're trying to stay up. Change the rules of the game. Raise yourself. Instead of going into business, going into sport, going into life, battling, just elevate yourself. And you get to a particular height, and then you find some incredible different peak comes and knocks you off. Something you didn't expect. Your family, there's an illness. You didn't expect it. And because you didn't expect it, what do you do then? elevate yourself. Keep elevating yourself. No doubt you have to deal with the challenge at present, but side by side, elevate yourself, because if we remain attached, identified with that particular experience of life, we're on the roller coaster. We'll go up and down. We're not objective. And when we're not objective, and the opposite of objectivity is involvement, when we are involved, our mind is caught up to that experience, it incapacitates us to think clearly. We lose our objectivity. We don't know how to handle that situation effectively. It's so unfortunate. The time when we need objectivity is when there is maximum involvement. Now, the third aspect is when we talk about objectivity, are we prepared for challenges? So the one aspect, the second reason was not being affected, remaining unaffected by the dvandvas, the pairs of opposites, meaning that you can continue, you can experience sorrow, but you can continue doing what needs to be done. Now, this aspect is interesting. Being prepared for challenges is when we measure the intellect, how do we decide where our intellect is? Like, how do we know the strength of our objectivity? How do we know the strength of our intellect? So if we have been following, the definition of objectivity is the intellect governing the mind. So when do we lose our objectivity? When the mind displaces the intellect. So let us look at the different aspects of life. Not just the ones we know, but also the ones we've not thought about. In those particular scenarios, where does our mind take over? Where do we break? Where does the intellect give way? And the example given in the book is, you go to a retreat, maybe we're all together in a retreat, and at the retreat they give some ball pens, and at the retreat venue you leave your ball pen and you return to your country. Will you worry about your ball pen? Nothing special about this ball pen, okay? Normal ball pen. Will you worry about the ball pen? No. So ball pen, no problem. Does not affect us. Then you leave your phone behind. Will the phone affect you? The loss of a phone, will it affect you? Maybe you might make some calls, maybe you might check with the organizers, have you seen my phone? And if they're not able to find the phone, are you affected? You say, no, I've backed up my data, it's okay, I can deal with it, no problem. I'm not affected. Okay, so pen, phone, check. What about you leave your watch behind? Depends what watch, but still, watch is okay. Look, I hardly use my watch for time anyway. I use my phone. I'm okay. I'm not affected. It might be a sentimental, might have been a gift from somebody. Are you okay? But this is the exercise to do, because even if it is a gift of sentiment, if you were to lose it, would you be okay? Or have you tied your identity, your peace of mind to that event, which is a probability? In certain countries, it's more of a probability than others. So when we travel, in some countries, because of what people from that city or country tell me, they say, put your watch away. Don't wear your watch. So, okay, the watch stays in the suitcase. In some cities, this time we were surprised, in London, they say, be vigilant with your phone. And they have it on some of the pavements. They said, this is a phone snatching area. So, you're prepared for it. So it's actually painted on the pavement. This is a highly prone phone snatching area. Are you attached to your phone? Are you attached to your watch? Are you attached to your car? If something was to happen to your car, would you be okay? I say all of this is fine. Okay, what about your home? Are you attached to your home? A flood, a fire? How attached to your home are you? And if you're okay with all these levels, we find usually the breaking point is at the loss or illness of a family member. Are you able to deal with the loss of that family member? Somewhere between pen and family member, we break. The idea is to examine those areas, wherever it is. Now, if we're at the level of the pen, we're in trouble. Let us strengthen ourselves. And the way to strengthen ourselves is to prepare for that eventuality. Just as we insure our car for an accident, just as we insure our life for the loss of life, just so that we don't experience the shock and grief as much because we've thought about it. And one way we can do it is this exercise. Look at under which conditions will I feel challenged? Will I feel shock, grief, overwhelmed? And address it. So instead of not thinking about it, let's think about it actively. Not that we keep on thinking about it, but think, what would I do if this happens? And by pre-living it, as it were, by preparing for that possibility, for that eventuality, it actually removes the fear of it because I know what I'll do. And because you know or you've thought about it, your mind doesn't agitate you as much. You're not as anxious. You are prepared for the challenge. This preparation is the third aspect of objectivity, so that when the challenge comes, you remain objective. I would say we can even pre-live in the sense to expect challenge in life. There is no life without challenge. The body will give its own challenges. Family gives its own challenges. People come with challenges. They are their own. There is no company, no organization, spiritual, commercial, that does not have their own personal challenges, their own people challenges. The world comes with challenges. So as long as you're living, there's going to be challenge. But instead of actively trying to avoid them, prepare for them and improve our ability to meet the challenge and raise ourselves. Robert Browning says, raise ourselves. We should be prepared for the challenge. He says, when temptation comes, why come temptation but to meet and master and make crouch beneath his feet and so be pedestaled in triumph? Why come temptation for man to meet and master and make crouch beneath his feet and so be pedestaled in triumph? So let us look at temptation as an opportunity to develop our intellect, to develop our objectivity and raise ourselves. And there are 4 levels of intellect. And let's see where we are. Having done the exercise, are we at the level of intellect where a challenge happens, where we're overwhelmed, and we're not even aware of it? So the grades of intellect are this. The first aspect is you're unaware of the challenge. So you suffer. You don't even know what the cause is. You don't know what's happening. You suffer. No intellect at all. Just the mind going through its emotions. The second is, now we're aware there's a problem, but we're not able to handle it. And this is where most of the world is. We're aware of it, but we don't know what to do about it. The third is, the intellect is strong enough. It is able to be aware of the challenge, but it has the ability to govern and handle the mind's emotions. It remains unaffected, it remains objective. But the highest level of intellect is when you are prepared for the challenge, that the challenge is not a challenge at all. You have the foresight to have gone through that particular challenge. You have seen it. You have prepared for it, that when it comes, no issue. That's next level intellect. So in the book, The Fall of the Human Intellect, and you might find it in different parts of the Vedanta e-learning course, which I hope each of you get an opportunity to go through at some point. It talks about what kind of intellect do we have? Do we have the chicken intellect? Chicken intellect means what kind of flight are you? So the chicken, it flutters a bit, great effort, flutters, comes down. You can't really fly. Then it says, you've got the pigeon. A great effort, it does fly. At a particular height, it flies. But the highest intellect is the eagle. The eagle soars. Effortless. It's gone so high, and I'm glad it matches with our analogy earlier. It's gone so high that all these ups and downs that the world brings, all these pairs of opposites that come with life, do not trouble one at all because of one's higher knowledge, one's higher goal, one's preparation. No problem. What a state. And that's a state all of us can experience. Even short of realization, short of enlightenment, having been in the subject and absorbed some of these principles, I've not met a challenge that has affected my objectivity. And I'm saying this is all something that's achievable for every one of us, depending on our consistency and dedication to absorbing the knowledge. But I'm going to add one more dimension, because I think the categorization is not complete without it. There is also the penguin intellect. The penguin intellect is no flight. And this is the intellect that is not even aware of the challenge or the problem. Chicken intellect, it tries to fly. It's aware of the problem but can't handle it. Pigeon intellect struggles, handles the situation, the problem. But the eagle is prepared. It's assessed and accepted life, and it soars. This is objectivity in life. And this is a vital role that the intellect plays in both the quality and the productivity of the life we lead. Now we take up questions.
The first question, how do I know if I am being objective, not indifferent or giving up?
Through analysis. So objectivity is seeing the challenge, going through the pros and cons, and coming to a decision. Not because it's difficult, not because it's painful. And deciding what needs to be done. So you may decide not to do anything. But it's not because of the pain that's involved or the effort. That would be giving up. You've gone through the analysis, and for the goals that you want to achieve, it's not aligned. When you are indifferent is when you don't do the analysis. There is no feeling, there is no effort, there is no analysis. Giving up is you are not able to match the challenge. You're not able to meet the challenge because the intellect's not developed enough. So at that level, the idea is to take help, borrow intellect, to give our intellect some strength, and then build our own intellect to meet and match the challenge. So we are giving up, it is when it is too painful or too much effort. The other is when there is no effort. Here, it's about putting the right effort to overcome, meet, and master the challenge or problem. Next question.
In areas where we have strong attachment, when something negative happens, it is very hard to remain objective. For example, when a loved one is hospitalized or is in danger. In such moments, what can we do to either return back to objectivity or minimize the damage caused by our lack of objectivity?
At the time, if one has not prepared for that challenge or for that eventuality, then it is very difficult at that time to bring the intellect in. We are going to go through the emotions of the mind. And to do something then is difficult. It depends what level of intellect is available to us then. So what could we do if there is some intellect? If there is no intellect, unfortunately, it is suffering. If there is some intellect available at the time, but we haven't prepared for it fully, what we could do is immediately at that time, or as soon as you get an opportunity, reach out to somebody that can lend you perspective, can lend you an intellect, can give you a view to see the situation that can calm your mind. Now, at that time, to think about who that person is, again, not easy. And that's why it has to be done before. Who would I reach out to if the situation happens? And that pre-living, that pre-thinking, that preparation is so helpful. So the time to do insurance is not when your factory is on fire, when your house is on fire. It's earlier. The best we can do at that time is seek help. Seek the right environment, the right person that can bring the objectivity to the situation, that can help us with that. Next question.
The last submitted question is, would the disarray in the world be because there are too many objective people or not enough?
The disarray in the world. The disarray in the world is because of the fall of the human intellect. Objectivity is a sign of a resurrected intellect. It's a sign of an active intellect. If we have objectivity, and that's how we started with Lord Buddha right in the beginning, it would be analyzing and thinking and doing what makes sense for the benefit of one and all. Would that kind of decision making lead to disarray? It is the lack of higher values, the lack of thinking, the lack of unselfishness that has led the world to where it is now. And hopefully, if we revive the intellect, we can undo some of this damage and prevent it for the next generation. I want to share one aspect with the group before we leave, and that is this perspectives. And it's about the different planets, because sometimes when we think our problems are so large and it seems all-consuming, and the problems become so large because we personalize it. But if you think of our problem in context, it's so infinitesimal. We are just a spot on the globe. Even if you look at, if you're one person in India and you look at India and your city. And then you zoom out from the city and you look at the country. And then you zoom out and you look at the continent Asia. And you zoom out and you look at the globe. So small. And here's a few images of that. So the one is with Earth and other planets. And in one of the classes, Swamiji shared this with us. So imagine, there's India there. You can see it on the left. So small. And you could be US, South Africa, wherever your respective countries, Switzerland, Kenya. And so small, such a dot, right? And you're a dot on the world, and you can see the world with respect to some of the planets there. Venus, Mars, Mercury, Pluto. But when you look at it with respect to the bigger planets, Earth becomes very small. So when you look at it with regards to the solar system, compared to Jupiter and Saturn, Uranus and Neptune, can you still see Earth? Everybody? Can you see Earth there, at the bottom left? It's there, right? You can't see your continent at this point. You definitely cannot see your country, your city. You're less than a pixel. But if you go to the next one, it shows with reference to the sun. The sun that we see looks like a small disk. Look at the size of Earth. You can just make out at the bottom there in the middle a dot with reference to the sun. But the sun is one star in our galaxy. And it's not even a very big star. And the next one shows that as well. When you compare our sun to the nearby stars, it also becomes dwarfish. It's so small. At this point, you cannot see Jupiter, let alone Earth. Earth is invisible. You can't see it. It's less than a pixel. So just with nearby stars, those 2 or 3 stars that you can see close by, shining the brightest, sun is tiny. And if you go even further, and you look at some of the really big stars, our own sun becomes a pixel. It is all relative. And when we put it in context, when we put it in perspective, what does it do to that problem? It deflates it. Like a balloon getting deflated. And when you start seeing that problem in context of everything, in context of the whole universe, and you see it in perspective of your whole entire life, your intellect returns. Yeah, this is not that crucial. This is not that huge. And that's what we are doing with the knowledge. And this is one way to do it. There are some other techniques as well. But the whole idea is to use your intellect, maybe with these perspectives of the cosmos, to deflate the problem, to bring them into a manageable size, to move ahead. So that is objectivity. And next week we take up another very relevant and practical topic about how to relate to the world. Again, intellect is essential. So thank you everybody for joining us this week. We see you next Sunday. Before we leave, just a few upcoming events. The first is the youth camp that is coming up in June at the Vedanta Academy. So we'll put it up on the screen for you. It's from the 3rd to the 7th of June. So for those of you who have teenagers who are on holiday, there is the youth camp. And then following that, we have a week at the academy. So this is ideal for you. This is in July, from the 3rd to the 8th of July. The Vedanta Academy was founded in 1988 by Swami Parthasarathi. It's a place that's a resource for everyone around the world to come and learn Vedanta, the technique, the art, the skill of living. I completed my 3-year course in Vedanta at the Academy and got so absorbed in the subject, now it's been 25 years. If you would like to find out more about the Academy, here's a video, and further details are online.
Nestled in the serene hills of Malavli, India, 108 kilometers from Mumbai, lies a campus which draws seekers of self-development. Founded in 1988 by world-renowned philosopher Swami A. Parthasarathy, the Vedanta Academy is created to develop the whole personality of young individuals through a 3-year residential course. The course curriculum is based on Swami A. Parthasarathy's 65 years of scientific research and writing on Vedanta, India's timeless philosophy on life and living. The program enables you to strengthen your intellect and gain clarity of thinking. With reflection and focused discussions, you find answers to all of life's questions. The intellectual development is accompanied with devotional practices to elevate your mind's emotions. The campus provides you with facilities to discipline your body through yoga, various sporting activities, jogging, and gym. There are also opportunities to engage in service for a higher cause in various areas of your interests. A carefully designed daily schedule nurtures spiritual growth and is supported by the company of like-minded seekers from diverse backgrounds. You can also experience the Vedanta Academy through shorter visits, corporate leadership programs, and customized retreats such as the Vedanta International Retreat for Adults and Life Decoded Youth Retreat. Learn techniques to improve yourself and your relationship with the present-day world and gain a taste of simple living and higher thinking. The Vedanta Academy is a place to find the ultimate purpose of life and uplift your personality to command success and peace.
And for those of you who would like to join us in Europe, we have a few places left for our Vedanta Prague retreat. And that is from the 22nd to the 24th of May. Thank you, everybody. Have a good week. Hari Om.
Thank you.